Mom. Help me. The voice of my daughter, Ria, on the phone was faint, as if it might disappear at any moment. I haven't eaten anything for days. I can't. Help me, Mom. I strained to pick up her voice, which came in fragments. She must be too weak. Ria was lodging at her aunt's house and was supposed to be living a college life from this spring. However, the phone call that day was clearly different. Ria. Pull yourself together. I'm coming to get you right away. She might be caught up in some kind of trouble. Thinking so, unable to stand still, I jumped into the car and rushed to my sister-in-law's house. I just wished for her safety. Arriving, I entered the house without hesitation. But there was no one there. I felt an eerie atmosphere in the silent house with no sound. Then, from the stable in the yard, I heard the neighing of a horse and a distressed scream. My name is Emily Gordon. I'm a single mother in my 40s. My daughter, Ria, lost her father when she was in elementary school, and since then, I've been raising her on my own. To manage our household expenses, I currently work as a contract employee. Ria, who was once a child, is now a high school senior. Mom, listen. Today, the math teacher did something really terrible. Today, as usual, I listened to Ria's complaints about the math teacher. It was something trivial, like most of the class couldn't solve the tricky problems in the quiz. Ria seemed frustrated because she was good at math and couldn't solve the tricky problems. That teacher is unfair. Always. But you solved the others, right? Then it's okay. Yeah, but... She pouted while eating dinner. She's doing well in subjects other than math, partly because I sent her to a cram school near the station. Even the high school teacher has praised her, saying that with her grades, going to her desired university is not just a dream. But it's a fact that going to university requires money. I didn't want her to give up on going to college just because she has a single parent. I also want her late father to see how well she's grown up. I have to earn a steady income. After dinner, I start my side job. I work as a contract employee at a call center during the day and focus on translation work at night. Juggling 2 jobs is very tough. I work late into the night, wake up early in the morning to make lunch for the 2 of us, and rush off to work. One day, amidst such daily life, I received a call from my sister-in-law, Amy. Hey, Emily, how are you doing? From the other end of the smartphone, her high-pitched voice casually laughed as she spoke. She called during my work break. Frankly, I'm not fond of her. She has this sarcastic personality, laughing at our struggles as if it's amusing to her. On this day too, she went on with her nonsensical chatter, seemingly laughing at my hardships. Well, it's time for me to get back to work. Excuse me. I quickly hung up and returned to the break room. However, Amy and I still have some interaction. There was a time when Amy's husband bought a new car, and we went for a drive. Her husband, Harry, is very reserved. Even during the drive, he spoke very little, mostly just nodding along or giving simple responses to Amy's chatter. Even at shops or during lunch stops, there was hardly any conversation. Harry ignored Amy's rude remarks. He's passive and just watches from the sidelines. During the drive, he didn't even object to Amy's attempts to one-up me. Her parents often warned Amy about her behavior and attitude. But she never listened. Apart from them, there were no other reliable relatives nearby. My parents have passed away, and my in-laws are alive but live in another prefecture. Though it's often daunting, there's no use lamenting over it. I've always believed in maintaining a good relationship with them, even if it's challenging. I've gritted my teeth and gotten through it so far. I've always told myself that I can manage somehow, and I intend to keep doing so. One day, about 6 months after the call from my sister-in-law, Ria finally started her university entrance exams. Both she and I felt a tense atmosphere at home. Even during meals, Ria keeps her vocabulary book nearby, moving her eyes, mouth, and hands while eating. Ria, put away your vocabulary book at mealtime. Wait, let me memorize this much first. While chewing, she stares at the vocabulary book with a fierce expression. The small cards are filled with tiny characters. Ria is also trying her best to get through the exams. I decided to support her with all my might. Meanwhile, mysterious calls from Amy were coming more frequently. I casually brushed them off, only half listening to what she said. The day of the acceptance announcement arrived. I accessed the website of Ria's desired university and searched for her exam number. I'm scared, Mom. But we won't know until we see it. Beside the trembling Ria, I stared at the screen intently. Like searching for winning lottery numbers, I carefully searched for Ria's exam number. Ria's number. 1130. Found it. Is this it? When I called out, she also eagerly looked at the screen. Ria followed with her finger. 1127, 1128, 1130. Yes. I did it. I did it. Overwhelmed with joy, we hugged each other and jumped around. The university Ria aimed for is a famous national university. Later, Ria's acceptance to her desired university was also posted in the corridors of the school and cram school. Her teacher was also crying tears of joy, saying she had worked hard. However, to attend this university, she needs to live a little far from where we currently live. Ria needs to live alone. Tuition, living expenses, and rent. It's a bit tight. She'll need financial support. I desperately tapped on the calculator while staring at the household accounts. I had been thinking about the future after finishing my side job, but I couldn't quite settle down. Around that time, Amy called again. Hey, listen. We're going to do a neighborhood cleanup at the community association, but the chairman. Listening to her listless voice, I felt annoyed. She didn't have any kids or pets, so she often called because she had nothing else to do. That day, she went on and on about gossip and slander, but I suddenly remembered something. Oh, by the way, Ria got accepted to a national university. She'll be a college student from spring. Wow. Ria, that's amazing. Congratulations. Her response didn't seem very sincere, so I replied indifferently. Thank you. I guess. Isn't commuting from there going to be tough? She'll live alone, right? Yeah, well, that's the plan. In that case, why don't you let her board at our place? You probably don't have much money, do you? Amy's sudden offer surprised me. Huh? And, you know, since we don't have any kids, there's a spare room. Indeed, Amy and her husband's house was within commuting distance of the university. However, I was a little cautious. But it's not right. Harry is there too, isn't he? It's fine. We were just talking about renting out the spare room recently. The boarding fee was about 30,000 yen, including utilities and internet. For all that was included, it was a good deal. The conditions weren't bad, but I said I would confirm with Ria before getting back to her, just to be sure. I'll be waiting for your favorable answer. She hung up the phone cheerfully as usual. For her, getting a monthly income of 30,000 yen just by renting out a room was probably a good thing. But, it's that shrewd Amy we're talking about. It's normal to think there's something fishy going on. I had intended to consult Ria and, if she didn't like it, decline. When I told Ria about it after she returned from cram school, surprisingly, she agreed to the idea. I can board at Auntie Amy's house for 30,000 yen? Economically, it would help, but it's up to you, Ria. Ria fell silent for a while and pondered. Of course, if you prefer a proper apartment, we'll look for one. No, I'll board at Auntie's house. Huh? Are you sure? Because that would reduce your burden, Mom. I think it's a good idea. Saying that, she smiled. She must be trying not to worry me or cause any trouble. I wasn't too keen on it, but I agreed. Afterward, I informed Amy that Ria would be boarding. However, I made it a condition that she would only board for the first year, as we couldn't rely on them for 4 years. During that year, Ria would save money from her part-time job, and I would increase my workload. This way, we would prepare for Ria to live alone more independently starting from her second year of college. Surprisingly, Amy readily accepted these conditions. Okay. Let me know when the moving day is set. She hung up the phone with a cheerful laugh. On the other hand, I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Or rather, the anxiety was greater. I couldn't shake off a bad feeling. As for her, she started packing happily, seemingly looking forward to her new lodging. Watching her, I told myself not to worry too much and spent my time. The moving day was set, and on that day, I drove Ria's belongings in my car. One large suitcase and several cardboard boxes. In addition, Ria packed her blanket, pillow, and favorite stuffed animals. We drove for about an hour, and I pulled the car into Amy's driveway. There, an unusual sight caught my eye. Huh? Horses. There was a slightly spacious garden on the property, and there were horses standing there. Behind the horses was a small shed about the size of one horse. It was so strange that I had to do a double take. The chestnut-colored horse glanced over and turned its head away, seemingly disinterested. I parked the car in the garage and unloaded the luggage. Ria looked at the horses while pulling out her suitcase. It seemed to catch her interest. Then, Amy wandered over. You're here early. It's still noon. It's already noon. Amy was wearing sweatpants and sandals, looking like she had just woken up. Hello. Thank you for having me. Ria bowed her head politely. Her hair, which reached her shoulders, gently swayed. Nice to meet you too. Let me show you to your room. What about the horses over there? Oh, that little one? According to Amy, it went something like this. The horse used to be a racehorse but retired, and it was bought by an acquaintance of hers. However, the horse was not very friendly, and the acquaintance began to have trouble handling it. Hearing about it from the acquaintance, Amy took it because she wanted to try riding it. However, the horse refused to let her ride and was difficult to handle. But it won't let me ride it at all, and it's not friendly. It's more trouble than it's worth. I've heard that horses have different personalities. Perhaps it had a difficult temperament. Just now, it turned away as soon as it saw us. So, I want Rhea to take care of that horse. Really? Wait, what? I was taken aback. I didn't hear anything about that. It wasn't part of the boarding conditions, so I objected, but Amy just laughed. Students don't have much to do anyway, right? Taking care of a horse should be fine. Rhea has to work part-time too. Hearing that, Rhea, who had been listening, intervened between me and Amy. It's okay, Mom. I want to be friends with that little one. Huh? But. Well then, why don't you try touching it a bit? Amy said so and walked Rhea over to the horse. When the horse saw Rhea approaching, it snorted. It leaned into Rhea's face as if checking something. You're a good boy, horsey. I'm Rhea. Nice to meet you. Rhea spoke gently to the horse. Come to think of it, she had always liked animals since she was a child. When she was young, she used to go to the zoo often with her late father. The horse seemed stubborn, but surprisingly, it seemed to have opened up to Rhea. After finishing unloading the luggage, we had lunch together before I headed home. The car, which had become emptier than when I left home, felt strangely lonely. And so, Rhea's boarding life began. The next day, I received a message from Rhea early in the morning. I named the horse Rocky. I heard her report with joy, but apparently, the horse didn't even have a name until then. I wondered what it had been called before, but I just nodded vaguely. For a while after that, I received messages only about Rocky. Since the entrance ceremony of the university, she also talked about her classes. With just these messages, I could probably write a novel. I wonder who she takes after. I opened the messages in between work, somewhat looking forward to them. But that didn't last long, and days passed with longer gaps between messages. She must have gotten busy with university classes and her part-time job. Or maybe she was enjoying herself with new friends. They say no news is good news, but I wondered if this was really the case. However, one day, the communication abruptly stopped. It's strange. Not even seen messages. The next day, and the next month, I didn't hear anything from Rhea. I had a bad feeling and tried to contact Amy, but she just laughed it off. She's such a helpful girl. Please let me talk to Rhea directly. I need to hear from her. No way. She's doing a really thorough job cleaning the bath right now. Amy, let me talk to Rhea. She likes cleaning, you know. She's really enthusiastic. No matter what I said, Amy just kept praising Rhea and didn't pass the phone over. Since I was paying for Rhea's phone bill, there was no reason for it not to connect. Yet, for some reason, she didn't answer the phone. I wonder if something happened. Days passed without being able to focus on my main or side jobs, and I realized things couldn't go on like this. That weekend, I decided to gather my courage and pay a visit to Amy's house. Rhea is my top priority. I have to go. my fleeting relief didn't last long. Unexpectedly, I received a call from Ria. It was Saturday morning, as I was preparing breakfast. Just when I was about to head to Amy's house, my smartphone rang. The caller was from a payphone. It could be Ria. With that thought in mind, I answered the call. Ria. Mom. Help. Ria's voice was weak, as if it could vanish at any moment. I haven't eaten anything for days. I can't take it anymore. Help me, Mom. I managed to pick up her fragmented voice and understand. She must be very weak. Ria. Ria. Stay with me. Where are you right now? I'll come get you. The stable. Ah. With a loud clang, the phone call abruptly ended. Upon hearing the word stable, I hurriedly searched for the address on my smartphone. Oh, get it together. Me? Should I call the police? Or an ambulance? There was no time to hesitate about which one to contact. She might have been involved in some kind of incident. With that thought in mind, unable to sit still, I got into my car and started the engine. I rushed to Amy's house, about an hour away. The roads were empty in the morning, and I arrived earlier than usual. I entered the house without hesitation, but there was no one there. The eerie silence filled the house, with no sound of movement. Then, from the direction of the stable, I heard the neighing of a horse and someone's anguished scream. I hurried towards the sound. Entering the stable, I found Ria, wearing dirty clothes, collapsed on the straw. Rocky, the horse, stood beside her, looking down at her with concern. Ria. I approached Ria and lifted her up. She was limp, but she was breathing and conscious. Mom. Her cheeks were sunken, covered in dirt from head to toe, and her hair was unkempt. She looked so pitiful that she could be mistaken for a homeless person. Why did this happen? I immediately reached for my smartphone in my pocket to call an ambulance. At that moment, I noticed Amy lying outside in the yard. She was also lying on the ground, crying and screaming. Ah. My face. My face. Upon closer inspection, it seemed that she was injured too. For some reason, part of her face had caved in and collapsed. Her collapsed facial features were further distorted by tears. It hurts. It hurts. My tooth broke. That horse, how dare you? Harry was nearby, but he just stood there, looking bewildered and doing nothing. Without understanding what was happening, I called an ambulance. Please come quickly. One person has a facial injury, and the other is unconscious. Yes, yes, the address is. Immediately after, 2 ambulances arrived with blaring sirens. Both Ria and Amy were transported to the hospital, and Harry and I followed behind in the car. Rocky stood alone in the stable, looking lonely and whinnying. When we arrived at the hospital, I held Ria's hand as she lay there receiving intravenous fluids. Her right hand, where blisters had formed, was nothing but skin and bones. What on earth had happened? Once Ria woke up and calmed down, I decided to hear her out. Mom, you see, I haven't been able to go to college. According to her, she hadn't been to college since communication with me had ceased. Upon asking for an explanation, she said she had been bossed around by Amy. I was always doing house chores, preparing and cleaning up meals morning and evening, and doing odd jobs. Odd jobs too? As part of part-time work. But I wasn't paid for the extra work. It seemed Amy had been assigning Rhea odd jobs and pocketing the money. Even when she sought help from Harry, she got nothing but silence. He always turned a blind eye, as usual. Auntie told me to sleep in the stable. Those words filled me with surprise and anger. Even though it was spring, it was insane to make her sleep in the stable. The only solace was the time I spent with Rocky. As she spoke, tears streamed down her face. It must have been really tough. Rhea sobbed uncontrollably. And this morning, Rhea managed to slip out of Amy's house and called me for help from a public phone. When I asked where she was on the phone, she said, "Stable." So that's what it meant, the stable. Yeah. But Auntie found me and hung up the public phone. Rhea, whose hand was snatched away from the receiver, was immediately dragged back. She was thrown onto the straw in the stable, and just as she was about to be hit again, Rocky kicked Auntie in the face. What? Amy was kicked and fell into the yard. As Rocky was originally a racehorse, his strength must have been considerable. Part of her face caved in, causing her to collapse on the ground. After that, I rushed to that stable. It was unbelievable that a horse would come to the rescue. I muttered to myself, but since Rhea had seen it, there was no room for doubt. After hearing everything from Rhea, I was summoned by the attending doctor. Rhea was diagnosed with malnutrition, and I got a medical certificate. I was advised to go to the police with this information. I immediately rushed to the nearest police station. After hearing the story, the police immediately launched an investigation. After questioning Amy, Harry, and me, they also interviewed the neighbors. Amy flatly denied everything, and Harry remained silent. On the other hand, I told them everything I knew, including Rhea's testimony. The neighbors also revealed that they had heard rumors about Amy's bad behavior and mistreatment of her niece. Based on these testimonies, Amy and her husband were arrested for neglecting their duty of care. Furthermore, I consulted a lawyer about claiming compensation from them. Fortunately, evidence and testimonies of their harassment were obtained from the neighbors. The neighbors were also aware of Rhea taking care of the horse. Every time someone passed by, Rhea would lament about being bossed around by her aunt and not being able to go to college. It's no news is good news, but this was no time for such optimism. I deeply regretted putting Rhea up with them. The more I knew the truth, the more my heart ached. For the past few months, every time I thought about how badly Rhea had been hurt, it tore me apart. Based on this evidence, I demanded compensation from Amy and her husband. If you want money that badly, I'll give it to you. Amy spat out such words casually and paid a lump sum. While Rhea took a leave of absence until she recovered, I received another call from Amy. Amy and Harry were able to return home on probation. However, it was diagnosed that Amy's sunken face would not return. She was terrified to see her face every day and ended up breaking all the mirrors in the house. And she began to shut herself in, fearing that others would see her disfigured face. Harry was ordered to transfer to another department after being arrested. As he was nearing retirement age, he requested retirement himself. In reality, it was more like he was forced to quit. He didn't receive as much retirement money as he had hoped, and the couple was struggling to make ends meet. Later, I heard from the neighbors that the couple's bad reputation was spreading, and they were being ostracized. I wonder what happened to Rocky, who was in the yard. Rhea often worried about him even while she was in the hospital. Don't worry. Rocky is probably. I persuaded Amy to consult with the authorities to have him taken somewhere. Eventually, he was taken to a ranch in the prefecture. It seemed he could run around even more freely there than before. His name is still Rocky. That's a relief. Rhea smiled with relief. Rhea continued to recover smoothly and was discharged safely. Her sunken cheeks and bony hands had become healthy again. She decided to move into the university dormitory, saying she was fed up with staying at Amy's house. Living in the dormitory had its inconveniences, such as the supermarket being far away and few buses. Still, she was much happier than staying in the stable, which pleased her. Should have done this from the beginning, I muttered, and Rhea laughed. But it's nice that we got to see Rocky. As we spoke, we were now at the ranch where Rocky was. Rocky was running freely inside the fence as if he loved to run. His figure was so beautiful that it was hard to believe he was the same horse that was in that small stable. Rhea cried tears of joy as she watched Rocky run. When Rocky noticed Rhea, he slowly approached her and nuzzled her with a soft snort. Licking Rhea's cheeks and showing an affectionate and playful expression, he was a very charming horse. Haha, it tickles. Laughing, Rhea stroked Rocky's face. 4 years later, Rhea graduated from university safely. She started job hunting early on, and after securing a job offer from a major company, time flew by. There were many challenges before and during her studies. But because of that, this day felt truly precious. Mom, thank you so much for everything. I bought her a new dress for this special day. She looked so radiant and proud in her dress. I believe my late husband in heaven is also smiling as he watches her. How did you like this story? Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Well then, see you in the next video.
Hey, is the food ready yet?
Sorry, it'll be ready soon. Furrowing his brow, my husband muttered,
Useless.
and settled onto the sofa to play his game. Today's dinner is jambalaya, a recipe my mom taught me.
I'm in the middle of a game. Don't bother me. You're just my wife.
Whenever I try to speak, he cuts me off with those words. I swallow my words.
Tastes like something from the countryside. What kind of palate does your mom have?
I remain silent, defeated. Just hunched over, existing in that moment. My stomach is starting to ache. Just then, my father-in-law arrived.
What's going on, Michael?
Well, Dad, try this.
My husband handed my homemade jambalaya to my father-in-law. His expression clearly showed disgust.
What's this? It looks rather dirty. Is it pig feed?
Exactly. It's what she made. It's so miserably poor.
Despite his words, my husband continued to devour the jambalaya. My father-in-law promptly tossed it into the trash. I murmured softly. There was no need to throw it away.
Wives should keep quiet. It's their job to serve decent meals to their husbands.
I'm used to hearing such remarks, so I let it slide and tried to eat some jambalaya myself. But then,
Hey, what are you doing?
Huh? It seems like it didn't suit your taste, so I thought I'd eat it.
I won't let you eat the food.
Huh? My husband declared that since all these ingredients come from his earnings, it was unacceptable for me, his wife, to consume them. In front of my husband and father-in-law, I'm forbidden from eating or drinking anything, so I always sneak leftovers when they're not looking.
Finally 8. Now, clean up, will you? I'm going to play games.
Yes. The men in this household adhere to an archaic belief in male superiority and female subservience. As a woman, I'm not allowed to speak or even eat in their presence. Their mindset will lead to significant consequences. My name is Olivia. I work as a full-time employee at an apparel company. I met my husband, Michael, at a social gathering, and we hit it off, leading to our marriage. At that time, my husband's parents were still alive, and we often visited their home.
Oh, Olivia, welcome.
My mother-in-law always greeted me with a smile. However, my father-in-law never once welcomed me. Suddenly, my mother-in-law suffered a heart attack and passed away. Losing her was a significant blow for me. In my husband's family, the deeply ingrained belief of male superiority and female subservience prevails. The husband is the heir and holds a position of importance. The wife is relegated to domestic duties, serving as a housekeeper and supporting the husband. My mother-in-law has endured this situation. Perhaps the recent heart attack was due to accumulated stress. She was my only confidant.
Being married into this family is tough, but I'm here for you.
No matter how poorly my husband and father-in-law treated me, my mother-in-law always mediated. Her sudden departure left a void. Since the funeral, both my father-in-law and husband have been bossing me around.
Hey, there's no alcohol here. Bring some.
She really lacks awareness. What's going to happen to our family?
Sorry, Dad. I'll handle it properly. Olivia, pour the drinks over here.
I moved as instructed. I wonder how my mother-in-law, with her smiling portrait, would perceive me now. Suddenly, my husband called me over.
We're going to live together in my father's house.
Huh? My husband decided on cohabitation without consulting me.
Dad will be alone from now on. There's no one to take care of him except you. Oh, and I've already submitted your resignation letter to your company, effective tomorrow.
Resignation letter? Wait a minute! Why are you making decisions without discussing them with me? I shouted, but my husband walked away without considering my opinion. I was seething with anger. I had diligently worked at my job, especially my beloved position in the apparel industry. Yet, he unilaterally forced me to quit and care for my father-in-law? He's perfectly healthy, there's no need for me to look after him. He can manage his own affairs. But in this household, such opinions hold no sway. I'm well aware of that. Wiping away my overflowing tears, I returned to the hall. As soon as the funeral ended, I began the 3-person cohabitation with my father-in-law and husband in my father-in-law's home.
Hey,
Yes? Cigarette in hand, my father-in-law looked at me.
I want to smoke. Surely you have something to do.
I fetched an ashtray and lit my father-in-law's cigarette with a lighter.
Honestly, you can't fully embrace your role as a daughter-in-law. Don't just stand there.
But the ashtray and lighter were within your reach as well.
You, thinking you can talk back as a daughter-in-law? What kind of education did Michael give you?
Whenever I tried to speak, he dismissed me with the same refrain, as a daughter-in-law. I swallowed my words and moved as instructed. That day, I was preparing dinner. It was jambalaya, a dish my mother had taught me. I had some confidence in this jambalaya. I served it to my husband. His reaction was harsh.
What's this? Disgusting. Is this fit for human consumption?
It's jambalaya, the one my mom taught me. I think it's delicious. Just try it once. Reluctantly, he took a bite, furrowing his brow.
Awful. What kind of palate does your mom have?
I was shocked. It was bad enough that he insulted me, but now he was mocking my mother too. Then my father-in-law appeared. My husband handed him the jambalaya. My father-in-law glanced at it and promptly tossed it into the trash. What are you doing?
This is harassment, isn't it? Looks like pig feed. Don't mock me. Convenience store food is 100 times better.
I was holding back tears. I had put so much effort into making it. Even my mother, who taught me the recipe, would be disappointed. I tried to eat the remaining jambalaya. Then my husband said,
What are you doing?
I thought it didn't suit both of your tastes, so I wanted to eat it.
Are you stupid? All of this comes from my income. You're not allowed to eat it.
He actually said that. Wait a minute. I made this. Why can't I eat it?
No matter how many times I say it, you don't understand. Women don't need to eat.
I couldn't believe it. From then on, I couldn't have meals in front of my father-in-law and husband. Occasionally, during cooking, I'd taste it just a little. Lately, my stomach has been empty, and I've been feeling unwell, perhaps from stress. And then, an incident occurred. That day, I was making stew. Come to think of it, I hadn't eaten in a while. I felt dizzy today. Leaning against the kitchen counter, I stirred the stew. Lately, even while cooking, the smell bothered me, making me feel nauseous. Perhaps my health was deteriorating significantly. All right, it's done, I thought, turning off the gas. But in that moment, my memory vanished. Apparently, I had collapsed right there. What's happening? My head is spinning. My consciousness is fading away. I closed my eyes. When I came to, I was lying in a hospital bed. It hurts. As I tried to sit up, my entire body ached. It seemed I'd bumped into things when I fell. Yes, I collapsed in the kitchen, which meant... Could it be?
Olivia, are you awake?
My overseas studying sister-in-law Sophia was there. Why are you here, Sophia?
I just returned home today. I found you collapsed in the kitchen and called an ambulance immediately.
It was my sister-in-law who happened to be visiting the home. My husband and father-in-law hadn't even noticed my collapse. My sister-in-law looked at me solemnly.
Olivia, were you eating properly? You were severely malnourished.
Well, I hardly had time to eat.
You've been bossed around by Michael and Dad, haven't you?
I couldn't say anything, so I nodded silently. My sister-in-law's anger was unyielding.
That household is messed up. They keep belittling women. They see women only as servants or housekeepers.
Her rage knew no bounds.
In this day and age, gender doesn't matter.
My sister-in-law disliked that kind of household, so she secretly saved money with my mother-in-law and went abroad for her studies. There, she met a man and got married, eventually settling overseas. Although she rarely returns, she hurried back when she heard about her mother's passing. She was profusely apologetic for missing the funeral. Then she revealed a shocking truth to me. I couldn't hold back my tears. I sobbed uncontrollably. My sister-in-law gently embraced me and asked,
Want to live together?
Yes, thank you. I was discharged from the hospital after about 3 days. However, my heart remained heavy. I decided to return home with my sister-in-law. At home, my husband and father-in-law were watching TV and laughing. It would have been nice if they'd helped a bit on my discharge day, but expecting that from them was futile. My husband noticed my return.
Hey, you're back. Oh, and Sophia too. It's been a while. Olivia, make some coffee.
I plunked the coffee beans in front of him and said, I'm leaving. Just came to pick up my things. With that, I gathered my belongings and left. My sister-in-law had been venting her anger at the two of them during that time.
How long are you going to keep playing the gender superiority game? When will you stop discriminating based on whether someone is male or female? What century are you living in? Because of you too, Olivia almost lost her life. And that's not all. Anyway, stop trampling on women forever. It's the same as when my mom was alive.
My husband and father-in-law were both dumbfounded by her actions. As I packed my belongings, I listened to my sister-in-law's words. It was exactly what I wanted to say. She was speaking on my behalf, and it felt like a weight lifted from my chest. I returned to the two of them and said, I have something to tell you.
What is it?
I handed my husband a small notebook. It was the maternity record book. When he looked at it, he saw my name listed as the mother and his name as the father.
What's this? Hey, are you pregnant?
Formally, I was pregnant.
Huh? But your belly wasn't showing at all.
I'm the type whose belly doesn't show much. I was already 5 months along. It's a boy. My husband's face lit up with joy.
A boy? Yes! Dad, it's a boy!
Oh, wonderful. And when is the due date?
My expression darkened. And then I said this. You both worked me to the bone, never letting me rest or eat properly. You left me lying there even when I collapsed. Because of you, this child was lost. I had a miscarriage. Both my husband and father-in-law's faces fell.
What a tragedy.
My grandchild, the heir.
I'm divorcing you. I can't take it anymore. You took something more precious than my life. I won't forgive you. The men were taken aback by my sudden outburst. I, who had always followed their orders without raising my voice, was now shouting at them.
Hey! What are you saying? You're here to bear the heir. If it didn't work out this time, just try again next time.
My patient snapped at his words. What do you think a child is? You can't just replace one if it breaks. A child isn't a toy. And I'm not some baby-making machine for you. You two have already pushed one child to the brink of death. You're accomplices in this. I'll settle everything through lawyers from now on. Don't ever contact me again." With those parting words, I grabbed my belongings and left the house. Later, my sister-in-law and I checked into a hotel. She hugged me without saying a word.
You've been through so much. Let's live together from now on.
I was going to leave my old life behind and fly overseas with my sister-in-law. I wanted to disappear somewhere, but she gave me the strength to face a new beginning. Living with her for a while, I'll eventually learn to stand on my own. It's my first time living abroad. I'm anxious, but also excited. Thankfully, I still have some savings from my days as an apparel company employee. This is my chance to start anew. Together with my sister-in-law, I boarded a flight from the US, leaving everything behind. Later, I received word through the lawyer that the divorce had been finalized. Due to my husband and father-in-law's actions, including the miscarriage of my child, a substantial amount of compensation was claimed. Later, I learned that my husband had been having an affair. While he treated me like a slave, he was enjoying himself with another woman. The lawyer didn't overlook this detail either. Thanks to that, the compensation was increased, and I could live without working for a while. But here I was, having come all the way overseas. I wanted to pursue the things I'd always dreamed of, immersing myself in the world of apparel brands. Maybe I'd give that dream another shot. For about a year, I stayed with my sister-in-law. Her husband was a kind gentleman who cherished her deeply and readily helped whenever needed. A world apart from the men I'd known. My sister-in-law had a 3-year-old daughter and seemed incredibly happy, a role model for me. During that year, I mastered the language and secured a job at a dream apparel company. Starting a new job in a foreign land wasn't easy, but compared to enduring the treatment from my husband and father-in-law, I could handle anything. It seems that my ex-husband and ex-father-in-law are living together. They're burdened with substantial compensation payments and leading a modest life. My ex-husband, having run out of money, has been abandoned by his affair partner and is now completely alone. Apparently, they argue incessantly about money. Well, none of that concerns me anymore. I'm starting my life anew. At work, there's a handsome guy named Louis who's caught my eye. Maybe it's time to give love another chance. Right now, I'm feeling quite excited.
How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time.
You haven't seen Michael in years, right? Surely, you'll renounce any inheritance?
One day, a phone call came to our home. The voice on the other end mocked us, and I couldn't contain my anger. I grabbed the receiver from my granddaughter, who had been handling the call.
"Listen here. We won't renounce any inheritance. Don't you dare speak nonsense. This child is..."
I, Nancy, aged 63, have been living with my husband James and our son Michael. Since getting married and having a child, I started working part-time, and I continue to do so. James has led a straightforward life as an office worker, and he was an ordinary man in both good and bad ways. He is 2 years older than me, but his gentle nature and the inexplicable charm that made it impossible to ignore drew me to marry him. After Michael was born, James became a doting father, spending weekends playing with Michael and taking him out. Our son Michael has always been sociable, diligent, and excels in academics. He's an all-around talent, both in sports and studies. In a positive sense, he's such an outstanding student that it's almost mysterious why a child like him was born to us. He's also quite good-looking, and apparently popular among women. After graduating from college, Michael left home and independently started and managed an IT-related company at a young age. Both James and I are incredibly proud of Michael. He's our pride and joy. As time passed, when Michael turned 28, we received news that he had married a woman named Sophia and they had started living together. Since Michael had left home and become independent, he rarely contacted us, perhaps due to his busy work schedule. However, he hadn't mentioned anything about being in a relationship with this woman until now. To our surprise, he reached out after a long time, sharing both the news of his marriage and the birth of their child. Given his position as a company executive, it's understandable that he leads a hectic life. Despite our initial apprehensions about Sophia, she turned out to be a wonderful person. Despite being 7 years younger than Michael, she was remarkably mature and quickly became comfortable with our family. Sophia frequently visited our home, bringing their daughter Emma along. Understanding Michael's busy schedule, she took it upon herself to keep us updated with photos of Emma's growth, a clear sign that she genuinely cared about Emma's happiness. Seeing Sophia's dedication to supporting our son while wholeheartedly caring for their child, we felt joy and pride. Simultaneously, we resolved to assist our son and daughter-in-law whenever needed. Although Michael's income made financial difficulties unlikely, we wanted to lighten their burden if any unforeseen circumstances arose. One fateful day, tragedy struck my son's family. It was Emma's 6th birthday, and Michael happened to have a day off. Taking advantage of the opportunity, they planned a family trip and booked a cozy resort hotel. However, during their journey, they were involved in a terrible car accident. While driving on the highway, a large truck rear-ended their vehicle. Michael sustained severe injuries and required 6 months of recovery. Sophia, on the other hand, was critically injured and unconscious when she was transported to the hospital. Sadly, despite all efforts, she passed away. Fortunately, Emma escaped with minor injuries. Upon investigating the accident, we learned that Sophia had instinctively shielded Emma during the impact. Thanks to her selfless act, Emma remained safe, but she lost her mother. Since Michael was still hospitalized and unable to fulfill the role of chief mourner, we conducted Sophia's funeral on his behalf. Emma struggled to accept the sudden and permanent separation from her mother, tearfully standing before Sophia's casket. Emma's emotional wounds run deep, and we must help her heal. James and I discussed Emma's future. Given Michael's prolonged hospitalization and rehabilitation, and with Sophia no longer with us, we decided to care for Emma during this difficult time. Of course, I had already discussed Emma's situation with Michael in advance, and he had given his consent.
I'm entrusting Emma to you.
Emma, Dad will be in the hospital for a while and won't be able to take care of you. So during this time, Grandma and Grandpa will look after you. Is that okay? Emma, shocked by losing her mother and facing an unexpected new life, was bewildered. However, my husband James and I wholeheartedly took care of Emma. Whenever James had a day off, we tried to spend time together as a family. On other days, we made sure to communicate with Emma, ensuring she didn't feel lonely. Our efforts paid off, and Emma gradually adapted to our life, slowly healing the emotional wounds from losing her mother. As time passed since the accident, Michael's condition stabilized to some extent. He returned to work early, eager to make up for the work he missed during his hospitalization. However, Emma remained with us. I wondered how long Michael intended to keep his child with us, especially since she would soon start elementary school. But considering that Michael's role as a company executive involved responsibilities beyond our understanding, we interpreted his actions favorably. Now, I had decided to document Emma's growth, just as the late Sophia had done for us, by taking photos and sending them via email. However, Michael never responded. For us, Emma is undoubtedly our granddaughter. Emma's father is Michael. I believe that he should be aware of Emma's future. Frustrated by his lack of communication, I sent him a straightforward email. Michael, I'd like to discuss Emma's elementary school enrollment. Could you visit us at home? If you're too busy, I can come to your place. Shortly afterward, Michael called me. I confronted him. Michael, you can't keep ignoring Emma. Yes, work might be demanding, but don't you realize your responsibilities as a father? Emma has missed you terribly since she hasn't seen you in so long. Michael's response shocked me.
Mom, there's something I need to tell you. Please continue raising Emma as if she were your own. You see, I can't handle parenting. It's impossible. Besides, I have a new girlfriend now, and having Emma around would be inconvenient. And honestly, from the beginning, I never felt any affection for Emma. She's not even Sophia's biological child.
I was utterly stunned by his shocking revelation. No affection for Emma? Not Sophia's child? What on earth was going on? Wait a minute, what exactly are you saying? What have you done? Explain. I demanded. Michael's response hit me like a ton of bricks.
Emma is the child of a woman I was dating around the same time before I married Sophia.
You! Sophia was such a kind person, and you did something like that?
I couldn't believe it. Michael, always well-liked, diligent since his student days, and excelling in his professional life, had blindsided us. We never imagined he'd be involved in such a messy situation. True, he had his share of admirers, but the idea that Michael would engage in such reckless behavior.
And this woman was interested in me.
He continued.
But I felt we weren't compatible for marriage. Still, I didn't want to completely cut ties, so we maintained a casual relationship. Then, somehow, she became pregnant with Emma. She demanded that I acknowledge the baby and break off my engagement with Sophia.
Michael's revelations shattered my heart. Surely, he had hurt many other women along the way. As a woman myself, anger toward our own child began to build.
I had rejected everything, but that woman went ahead and gave birth to Emma without my consent, and then she took her own life, leaving her child behind and selfishly departing.
You! You're not kidding, are you? You drove someone to suicide, and yet you think you're blameless? That's absurd. Clearly, you're the one at fault.
My anger flared up at Michael's heartless behavior. The revelation left me dumbfounded. Sophia, who had loved Emma unconditionally despite not being her biological mother and the birth mother of Emma, whom I've never even seen. And now, my own son has caused immense trouble.
What must Emma be feeling? How did Sophia raise her with such love?
I wondered aloud.
You can't possibly understand. I never imagined my own son would turn out to be such a disgrace. Do you think we'll entrust you with Emma? We'll take care of her.
Michael's response was callous.
Enough with the nagging. It's none of your business how I've been involved with women in the past, right? Anyway, I have no intention of raising Emma anymore. I already have a new girlfriend, and we're getting along just fine. So, let Emma be taken care of on that side.
As I listened more closely, I could hear laughter in the background, probably from the woman he was with. Just hearing her laugh while discussing such matters made me suspect she wasn't a good person. And Michael, choosing someone like her, seemed to drift through relationships without discernment. I sighed internally.
Even if I think it's futile, I'll offer one piece of advice. Being careless in relationships with women will only lead to trouble eventually.
Michael's dismissive reply came swiftly.
Sure. Thanks for your concern. Goodbye.
Clearly, He found further conversation with me bothersome. Michael hung up with an air of resignation.
Grandma, why were you so upset?
I hugged Emma, holding back tears as I explained. Emma, your father seems to be very busy with work, and he can't take care of you alone. So, you'll continue living with us. I'm truly sorry. I lied. I couldn't possibly tell Emma that her father had abandoned her. She looked at me with concern, and I continued. You know, Emma, Grandma and Grandpa love having you here. We're happy to take care of you. Her expression showed a hint of sadness, but she accepted my words. Afterward, I consulted a friend who was a lawyer about the situation. We discussed various options, and it was decided that Emma would be formally adopted through legal guardianship. This would be better than leaving her in a state of indefinite custody. Additionally, for Emma's future, I filed for child support from Michael through the lawyer. I knew that direct requests from me would likely be ignored, so involving a lawyer seemed more effective. Surprisingly, Michael accepted the child support claim without much resistance. Initially, he had hesitated, but he realized it was better to comply promptly rather than prolong the dispute. However, after the first few months of consistent payments, he stopped altogether. Despite several follow-up requests, there was no response, and I eventually gave up. As time passed, Emma turned 18 years old. I had decided that once Emma became an adult, I would reveal something I had kept hidden all these years. However, since Emma's university entrance exams were approaching, I waited until those were over. With the exams successfully completed and only the results pending, I finally disclosed the truth to Emma about what her father had told me. Emma was shocked. Even though it happened when she was young, the fact that I had kept this secret from her hit her hard. She learned that her biological mother was someone else entirely, and Sophia had been her nurturing mother. On the day I revealed this, Emma was so overwhelmed that she retreated to her room. But the next day, she approached my husband and me with a determined expression.
Grandma, if you had told me the truth when I was little, I might not have handled it well. But I understand now that you were trying to protect me. I may not know what kind of person gave birth to me, but those who raised me until now were my late mother and my grandparents. So even if my father abandoned me, I don't feel any sadness. I've realized that.
My husband and I cried tears of joy. And in my heart, I silently reported to Sophia in heaven. Your daughter has grown into an admirable young woman. A few days passed, and then one day, the home phone rang. Emma answered the call. I noticed her tense expression immediately, so I moved closer to eavesdrop. The caller identified herself as Michael's wife, the same woman whose voice I had heard during my last conversation with Michael. Emma's shock was palpable.
Emma, you're Michael's child, right? I'm Michael's wife. You haven't seen him since then, have you?
Yes, that's correct.
Exactly. Now, here's the main point. Michael passed away recently.
What? Is that true?
Both Emma and I were taken aback. Despite the lack of communication, I never expected Michael to be gone. Strangely, his wife didn't sound particularly sad, despite being his spouse.
Anyway, you haven't seen Michael in ages, and you've been living with your grandparents, right? So, you're practically strangers with Michael now. Considering that, you won't be inheriting anything, will you? Besides, it's not like you deserve any inheritance as a stranger.
Listening to their conversation, I realized that Michael's wife had married him for financial gain. Michael was no saint either, but to end up with a woman like this as his last spouse was beyond belief. My anger was reaching its breaking point.
Inheritance?
Overwhelmed by the woman's forceful words, Emma faltered. I snatched the receiver from her hand.
Hello? This is Emma's grandmother. I've been listening, and who do you think you are? You're after money, aren't you? Well, we won't renounce any inheritance.
I shouted at the woman, my anger boiling over. I hung up the phone. I couldn't let someone like her have her way. Emma looked at me, still a bit frightened. I'm sorry, Emma, but sometimes we need to stand up firmly to people like that. We'll handle this, so watch and learn. Later, I consulted my friend, the lawyer, again. As it turned out, Emma's adoption was a regular adoption, which meant her legal relationship with Michael remained intact. Initially, I had considered severing all ties with her father, but my friend advised against it. If Emma completely cut ties with Michael, she'd lose her right to inherit anything if something unfortunate happened to him. So, we opted for a regular adoption that maintained their legal connection. Through the lawyer, I made a statement to Michael's wife that Emma would not renounce her inheritance, and we demanded the unpaid child support that Michael had failed to pay. The unpaid child support amounted to a substantial sum, around $100,000. Michael's wife couldn't afford it, even with the inheritance she received. To settle the debt, she sold her house, and her subsequent whereabouts remained unknown. Rumor had it she was living quietly in some apartment. One day, Emma treated my husband and me to dinner using the money she had saved from her part-time job.
It's not much, but it's my way of expressing gratitude to you two who raised me.
For me, her words meant more than the dinner itself. I felt immense gratitude toward Sophia, who had lovingly nurtured Emma despite their lack of blood relation. Sophia's legacy lived on, and we continued to live happily with Emma.
How did you find this story? If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing to our channel. Until next time.